How you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crannk. And tonight, I'm having a chat with Court Order. So, how you going, guys?
How's it
What's up,
going?
brother? What's up,
Hey,
man?
how are you, man?
Yeah, good. I think we'll start by going through and a little intro of each of you guys as we go through instrument and name, a little bit of an intro about yourselves as we start off. So I'm looking at my order here. I'll start with John, if you'd like. If you want to go first, mate.
Going on. That's cool. My name is John, or JJ, whatever you prefer. I'm the vocals of Court Order.
Hey, my name is Oscar. I always say that everybody has a cool name in the band, like JJ, JD. Say, I'm just Oscar. I'm always gonna say that. I'm gonna find a name for me, but for now, it's just Oscar. I play the bass.
Nice.
Zay, I play guitar in the band.
Nice.
I'm JD. I play guitar as well and do some vocals.
Ace, I play the drums and I do vocals in the band as well.
Nice. Cool. It's nice to do a little bit of an intro with you guys as well, because I've been talking to Ace. So, you know, I got to play a track on my August podcast, which was really cool. That Poor Excuse track off the self-titled album that recently come out, which is really, really dope. But I want to ask first, the sound, man, it's got a really, really cool sound. I'm going death metal, deathcore with some hardcore vibes, but how would you describe your sound?
I would consider it like more like new hardcore kind of thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I have like a pretty like disciplined metal background where I grew up listening to like a lot of what you got hanging up on the walls over there, man. Like big Sepultura fan, 80s thrash, you know, Slayer, Metallica, and that stuff. And then just kind of got into hardcore over time as like I kind of got tired with some of those metal greats. And then you know, I think when we first started the band, we were playing a lot of like metalcore stuff with like big riffs and like packing a lot into the sound. It reminded me a lot of like early Killswitch and early Trivium. And then as we got some of the rest of the guys in the band, I think everybody brought their own new sound to it. And you can kind of hear that some of these songs have a lot of dynamics to them. So, you know, I consider us a metal band, a hardcore band. I think those genres are you know, they're pretty diverse. A lot, you can fit a lot into metal and hardcore, but you know, so for me, I think I like to say Court Order's a metal band.
Yep.
I'd say the same. Like, we all have different influences. I grew up on a lot of like 90s, 2000s new metal. I have like a fucking Deftones banner right there. I have a Korn tattoo on my wrist. So like, so I don't know. We all grew up listening to different stuff. Then I recently started getting into hardcore, and you hear a little bit of everything mashed in there. So.
Yeah, man. It's funny you mentioned you got a Korn tattoo, because I interviewed a band the other day, and Josh, a guy interviewed, he had a Korn tattoo, and I've got a Korn tattoo. So it's like a recurring theme at the moment. I've got the See You on the Other Side done up all on the inside of my arm, the cover of that album with the little boy and the teddy bear and that.
Sweet. Yeah, I got Life is Peachy on my wrist. So like, I got the little guy on there. You can see it.
Yeah, nice. What we're talking about influences, I might get some influences off of Oscar, Zay, and John as well, or JJ.
Either one works, honestly.
Yeah. JJ, did you want to give us some of your influences as well, mate, that have inspired you?
So one of the biggest bands for me that really got me into like that metal-esque scene, if that makes any sense, for at least vocals wise, is A Day to Remember. And when I first heard them do hard vocals, or screaming, if you will, at the time I was like, yo, this is the greatest thing in the world. I want to learn how to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I progressively got heavier, like Whitechapel, Suicide Silence, and Muir, Casey Strain, Traitors, I Declare War, and whatnot. But the music I first started out listening to, which is actually really weird, is freestyle music. Kind of like from the early 90s and 80s area. So it was actually a really weird transition going from that and just completely diving headfirst into that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Yeah, for me, it's my like biggest influence, like I started like playing like guitar when I was like, I don't know, like 15, and it was like punk. I started like playing punk and like pop punk. So like for me, it's always like fast music. I really like fast music when it's like, and then I started like moving to like hardcore punk and like all this like more metal, more like hardcore, like heavy. But like I think that's my biggest influence, like the punk and like the hardcore punk. Like that's what I try to like bring to the band, like when we try to like write songs and everything.
For me, it's always been I like strictly grew up on like hip hop and a lot of R&B. I started getting into it probably from the Devil Wears Prada, from the Roots Above album, and then after that it was just going on from, you know, those bands like We Came as Romans, and then it moved on to like kind of like backtracking back in time, and then, you know, then it's Deftones and Metallica and like everything. So I kind of like went backwards, and like even now, like a lot of like what I still listen to, it's always like non-metal music, and then I'll try to bring that, you know, like into the group.
Yeah,
as you know, as much as I can.
yeah, that's it. So how did you first pick up guitars, eh?
Ooh, okay. Amazing story. Crazy story. So I fell asleep one day. I left the TV on. This was VH1 days. I woke up. Welcome to the Jungle was playing. Yeah. Crazy video. And then the minute I finished watching that video, I went to Guitar Center. I put $100 down payment on a little Fender Squire, and that was 10 years ago, dude. Like I started playing music at like almost 20. So it's like I'm still very like new to it, and you know, like the whole like hardcore and like all the like simpler transitioning music is still like kind of new to me. It's like it's very interesting to like be in this group when, you know, like I'm kind of used to the more like dynamic ranges of music, or like a lot of instrumental music is it's like really all I listen to now. It's like, you know, that those songs where they have like 55 different riffs in like one measure, like that's usually like what I, you know, into. It's like it's always interesting being in this band and like taking, you know, things like very, you know, like simpler is like better sometimes than like this band kind of shows it to me. So it's very interesting. It's always a wild ride to like ride music and just know like what you can do with like so little.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got so much more room to grow as well, and expand and create with this band too. So it's not a lot of pressure. Can I ask the other guitarist, JD, how did you first pick up guitar, mate?
I've been playing for about 11 years now, and when I first picked up the guitar, it was just because my parents listen to metal, so my dad would always be playing Metallica or something, or even Slipknot or Sepultura and all those guys. So I got interested in that. Then like just in car rides, just listening to all that stuff. Then I ended up watching like the Korn Woodstock '99 video, and I was like, holy shit! Like all these people just bouncing up and down, and like these guys going crazy. So that's just like I wanted to play guitar after that. Then sooner or later, for like my 10th birthday, I got a like a Squire like starter kit, and so then before I even learned how to play the 6-string like Squire, I was like, I need a 7-string because Korn plays on 7 strings, so I went into my first lessons with a fucking 7-string guitar. Guitar teacher's like, what the fuck? Like, I want to learn how to play Korn, so but I did lessons on and off, and so that's basically how I started. I started playing with 7s, really.
Yeah, 7 strings, man, have been a theme for me because I've interviewed a few people that are using the 7 strings, and I chatted to JF from Cataclysm a little while ago, and he was saying how now he's using the 7 strings with the Unconquered album, the new one they've got coming out later in September, that he's using 7 strings now, and he's loving using the 7 strings.
It's not a hard switch up from a 6 to a 7. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was joking that he's going to switch up to the 8-string.
Dude, no, it's Steph Carpenter from Deftones just put out a fucking 9-string video.
Wow.
I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's getting more insane.
I'm gonna have to
Playing
check.
hard.
I can ask you, Ace, when did you first start drums, mate, and how did you get into playing drums?
So I started playing when I was 11, so over 20 years ago now. My first instrument was the bass. I picked up a bass guitar, and then my brother always played guitar next door. So him and I kind of grew up together, always jamming. And then he bought a drum set, and and we started jamming in the house in the garage. It's having a bass player and a guitar player jamming is like, when you can have a drummer and a bass player and a guitar player, like that's a band. So and I we had a neighbor across the street from us that kind of like showed us everything, and we were listening to Sublime, the self-titled in '96. At the same time, we were listening to 9 Inch Nails, Downward Spiral, the Korn self-titled, and really getting into like the Pantera home videos. And they would just like get up to a bunch of like craziness, and it was like kind of like the early versions of like Jackass almost. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos.
I had that. I had one of them VHS cassette of
3, baby, watch it go.
Yeah.
So and I think whenever I used to watch those, like I just became obsessed with wanting to be in a band. I think like just seeing the camaraderie that comes from that. There's a lot that goes into being a band that you don't really see when bands put out, whatever it is they're intentional to get you to see. And I think that it's real work that goes into it, very comparable to any other job that you have. But so that was it. I think from there I kind of put the bass down. I think I pawned it for like $40, and then bought the drum set from my brother and started playing that in other bands. And that was it. I started investing more into the drum set and kind of put the bass away. I can still play it. I learned a lot from that. And it's been a long time.
Yeah,
Lifetime.
Cool. Yeah, that's a cool story, man. Oscar, tell us your little story about bass, bro, and how you got into playing bass.
Well, that's a funny story too. So I always like playing guitar, right? And when I joined like Order, I was like playing guitar. And JT was playing bass. When he joined, he was playing bass. And then I missed like 2 practice, and then I was like, oh, no, you're playing bass. I'm just kidding. It was not like that. I'm just kidding. No. The thing is, so we decided to switch to like 7-string guitars, and like I've been like only playing like 6-string guitar. For me, it was like something like really new. I don't have a 7-string guitar. Like they didn't have it. Like, so I was like, oh my God. So this is gonna be like a new thing for me. So I didn't know what to like how to start and actually, that happened. Like I missed a practice, and then JD was like, "Oh, I can play the guitar." So they started playing like a new song with the 7-string guitar, and then Ace like talked to me. I was like, "Hey man, like we're gonna do this. Like it's okay for you if you're just gonna like play bass for now." I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, I'm in the band. Like it's a compromise. It's whatever it takes to take us like there. So I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like if I can play guitar, I can play bass." So like, and I actually like it. Like I have like I don't know, like a thing for like bass now. Like so I practice and I'm like learning all these like bass licks and like bass like things. So I really like it. So that's how I start. Like I start playing the bass with the band.
Bass than I am, man. No, it's like, oh my God, he's gonna be fucking pissed.
No, I like playing instruments. Like I want to learn how to play like drums and everything, and piano also. So like if I can play everything, like I would like to learn.
Yeah, well, the drums and the bass kind of provide that heartbeat to bands as well, You look at some of these unreal bass players like Steve DiGiorgio, Christian Speezy Giesler from Creator, man. You remember a great bass player as well, man. And that bass line, when you hit that, dude, you got to have that great bass line going through your songs anyway, and the bass and the drums provide that, so...
Yeah,
you
like
have
in
reassurance,
the
Oscar. Being a bass player is not a demotion, man.
Nah, no
no,
way.
I know,
dude.
I know, I
Being a
know.
bass player, chord order is very, very important.
Yeah, man.
No,
That
I know,
bass
like
line's great.
the new song that we record like the weekend ago, like 2 weeks ago. They had a really like bass line that I really like. It's just one part that is just like acing me, just the drums and the bass, and I like that part. So like, yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I love how you've all given each other room to grow as well, you know, with the 7th string and the bass and everything as well. It's really, really good. And to see the growth of, you know, where you're going and where you're heading to is bloody real, man. JJ, can I talk about you with vocals, man? How did you first get into vocals and singing, man?
Well, like from the beginning of the video, Dan got me into it.
Yep.
I was about at least 12 or 13 at the time. So we're going over 12 or 13 years ago. I can't keep track anymore. It's been for so long I've been doing it, so I really can't keep track anymore, honestly. But yeah, they were the first band that really introduced me into that realm. And wanted to try it out, and look what happened. It just blew up from there.
Cool. Now, can I talk about the birth of Chord Order? How did Chord Order first start?
That's something.
Take it away, Ace.
Ace or Zay?
So Zay and I were kind of the first to get to it. Zay had put out an ad on Craigslist. Craigslist is very much a part of the tri-state area DNA. And you know, this is what, maybe 16 or 17 now when we started jamming. So I got into the room. I responded to the ad, and when I got in there, it turned out that Zay and I had actually met prior in another band that I was in. You know, he either I think you either tried out or we met at a gig, or but you were he was actually the old singer's roommate, and it was like a really small world, but we got along really well. Practice was always a good time and something I looked forward to. And, you know, he brought, he had a good ear. Like that's the first thing, is that we had that chemistry of being able to write heavy music right from the beginning. We could, you know, I could hear this idea. He would pick up to what I'm doing. And so that was kind of the chemistry that I knew that we had something that we could build on. And then from there, you know, to get to where we are today with the group that we are now, you know, there was another band that we had played with called Indrid Cold that JJ was the old singer in, and their new singer did a single with us, and we were still transitioning at the time, really trying to figure out our identity, and they brought JJ to us to try out and play with us, and you know, it was great chemistry. I think from there, Aisha, Zay's wife, introduced Oscar to the band. They'd been working together, and I think, you know, she realized he was interested in starting a band, and so that, you know, we had really good family support and really good community support, where other bands are, you know, introducing us to people. You know, even like it was just kind of a real, like a familial thing. And then with JD. We had played with him live in another band, and I think you know, Zay and JD kind of got in touch from there, and you know, that's kind of it. You know, and we've been working together now for, you know, almost 2 years now as this unit.
Yeah. Well, the Infinite Decay, isn't that a collection of the singles that you kind of released up until that point? You've bundled them together in a really cool EP, eh?
Yeah, so it's interesting because on that, I think there's only one song.
No, 3.
There's really only, I don't think there's even on that EP, if there's one song where we're all on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like there's three different vocalists on Infinite Decay.
Yep.
You know, and 2 of those tracks are Zay and I with 2 different vocalists. So I think what was important to us was really just creating a foundation for the band. I think one thing that's really like that you can see here in the New York and New Jersey areas, everyone has like a very professional attitude about the band. So if you're trying to build a band, it's very hard for you when you don't have a branding, when you don't have music out there to invite other musicians into it. it's like really challenging. You know, bands are something that comes from like a neighborhood in a point in time, you know, and in an area like this where it's like people everywhere, like bridge and tunnel, and we're in different states and different boroughs, and like Oscar and I both live in New York City, but like he's in Harlem, you know, on the Upper West Side. Like it's another world away from me. So to draw that kind of commitment to get people to come to practice is a lot of work. You know, you got to grab all your stuff, take multiple trains to get to the practice space. There's no garages here. Like we're not in the suburbs. So for us to be able to get together, like somebody needs to legitimately be like interested in working together, you know? So for me to get all the way from Brooklyn to Jersey City, where Zay and I really started to build a band, like that was a commitment. Like I knew we had something there that we could work on. And in the beginning, like, you know, my intentions and what we were trying to do was let's build something that we can introduce ourselves to people and then build from there. So, you know, we always want to elevate that. Like we're some of those songs, like we listen to them and we're like, depends on the day. You know, sometimes I love them. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I can't believe we did that, you know? And, but that's kind of, it was important because, you know, like I said, I think you need to draw people to have a connection to it, and then it becomes theirs. And
yeah, well, you can look back at that and see the growth as well, because he cranked this this album, and you can kind of to see that it's a little more cohesive. This album, it just hits all the right points, has a great sound, but you know, and as you're saying, it's kind of good to look back and go, oh, probably some days you really cringe when you look at those singles off the Infinite Decay, but then it's also going, oh, look, this is where we come from, and this is where we're heading as well, which is always a good thing to have up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I will always say that it's an evolution for the band. Like when you hear all the singles, like they can see that, like, yeah, we kind of like starting like with the band, we've been trying to like write riffs, but when you listen to the EP, you can see like us as musicians, we try to like build something, you know, like create something as a musician, everything, like everybody putting ideas, and just it's not just like, oh, we have this song, let's just record it because you know I want to record it, but like with the EP, like we all like create a thing, like we got the mindset like since the beginning, like we're gonna create a whole EP, and like so we put a lot of elements on it. I feel like we have like really really good breakdowns. Like when we finished like recording the whole thing, we were like listening to the last song, and then I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Like I love everything, like every single part of the EP, I really like it. So like that's a good thing for me.
Yeah, so when did you guys start pre-production for this album? Like when did you sit down and start kind of jamming this out together, and how did that all work before you just got into the studio?
I think we had I think we recorded like one or two songs we already had done, and then the rest kind of like drove in there. So I think Poor Excuse, we were jamming since like JC Studio days, so like a while now.
And Night Trash too.
Yep.
Yeah. Night Trash was like, dude, like I wrote that song like 3 or 4 years ago. So, you know, so yeah, it's like, it was just like us like bringing like all of our stuff and then like coming together like as a group, and you know, like, which is important because then you're letting people like pick apart, you know, stuff that like you worked on to like cater it to them. So it's interesting to see what like Ace does with a drum part, or like JD will like do with like, you know, something I make. So it's always interesting to just throw everything out there and then let people just hack away at it. And then that's essentially the EP, man,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
most of the EP is this basically like refurbished old songs.
Yeah.
Really. Like that just haven't been recorded, and there are a few new ones, but yeah, I guess the newer ones off the record, there was just like jammed out in the studio, and then like the rest was already kind of written, and we just kind of shaped some stuff up. Yeah, like even before I even joined the band. So,
yeah, I think like Night Trash and Exercise Forgiveness, those were the second and third songs we'd ever written. Yeah. But I don't think we were ready to give them the love that we were ready to give them and deliver the way that we did. And I think something that we do is we we use technology just enough. You know, and what I mean by that is we use our notes app, and like we can structure an outline of a song with like a name of a riff, right? So we know what Zay will come to the studio and present the basic DNA of the song, and he's very open-minded with, you know, how I interpret it. You know, there's never you know, we never manage each other's parts. I think it's okay. This is how he's hearing it. All right, let's cater to that. And then JD brings some flair to it, you know, and then like that's kind of that seems to have been the chemistry throughout this. And also what's been really good is we're working with a producer that's super patient with us. And as we record the song, you know, what we do is we have the whole
Still there.
framework on, we nail it. From there, we'll start to layer the guitars. And what we've noticed is as we're doing that and layering each piece and then lead, we sometimes just like extract riffs and put new riffs in there that we believe are either more stronger, you know, and like we just, you know, we think every single moment of the record is critical. So we definitely, we're not scared of changing it up to recording day, which I think, you know, I know that drives Zay crazy. But that's been something that's been really working for us. Is even up to that day, we call an audible and just mix things up, you know. And to some of the vocal melodies too. Some of those on the album really came out at the last minute. You know, we never really practiced the melodies in Night Trash, the Exercise Forgiveness, and Dead Voltage. We wrote that in the studio the day of recording. So what we noticed is that if we commit to the time together, like there's really like this something special that happens, you know, and that's the reward. You know, I think that's for me, that's the reward, is that when we work on it for so long that this thing suddenly presents itself and you're like, whoa, like that, you know, that to me is kind of my, you know, the biggest motivator for me.
Yeah, it's like having your little metal child and going, on your way now, I've raised you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because even with those random ideas that come out right on the spot are usually the best ones to come up with.
Yeah.
And they fit very, very, very well.
And it'd be good too, having now, as you were saying, that you've had, you know, different people with the earlier stuff there, and now you're one cohesive group, and that does come out, and, you know, to be able to bring out these tracks and then, okay, and, you know, we can go forward with the next album, you know, fully all creating together, and must be good when you get into the recording studio and all of you having ideas as well. That's the thing people don't realize with bands is the families. You all got to kind of contribute as well creatively. It just can't be one guy going, okay, here we go, and everyone else just following the lines or whatever. So it is good to see you guys actually getting that cohesion now and going forward.
Yeah,
It's also been a big process too. Like obviously we didn't start out as a full-fledged band.
Yeah.
Like all over the place, obviously. But
yeah,
I'm so grateful that we all did come together when we did.
Yeah.
Honestly, in my opinion, we're gonna get better. 1,000% gonna get better. Not saying the stuff we have out now is terrible, not in any way, shape, or form, but we're going to progress even further and further and further and further and overachieve ourselves kind of thing, and to the point where we're going to blow our own minds.
Yeah, I love hardcore, dude. I'm going to have this cranked. I love this album, dude. I've been playing it hard for the last week, dude. It's a really, really great album, dude. And you're so like, for me, New York signifies hardcore, dude. That's kind of like the birth of hardcore. So you're in a great area for that. Dude, do you have a favorite track off the album at all, guys?
Night Trash, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite track off the album too.
Yeah, so good.
I actually have two. Mine's Resurfaced and Given Enough.
Yeah.
I like that intro.
The intro.
I love that intro, man. Come on.
Yeah, dude.
I like most of the songs, but like for me, like I don't know, Poor Excuse, like I think like that's one of the really, really, really nice songs that were like everything, like the power that song has. Like for me, like when I listen, it's like I don't know, I get like it like going, don't you know, like it gets me going. Like it's a really good song. Like I really like it.
It's a great album, dude. Just get that whole album, put it in, and just listen to the whole thing. Turn it up really loud, because I always say this: the
Thank
neighbors
you.
are gonna want to hear it as well. They are so gonna want to hear this, man.
Yeah, it's weird. Like when I did, when everyone like asks me like what's my favorite song, it's always funny because like I do like them all, but like I always say like Resurface is my favorite because when we started recording it, I fucking hated that
Hated
song.
it, yeah.
Like, I didn't even want to like play it. I was like, Zay, you could do this shit. It's like, but then we transformed it into something, and now it's like my favorite, and I think it stands out a lot
It does.
on the album.
That's
really
Yeah.
cool. That's a
like,
cool end of the album.
and,
That stuck with me as well. That track Resurfaced, it came out really well. It just sits well right on the end there, man. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think hearing JD say that, you know, I want to thank you for for playing it, right? I think that that just kind of goes to show a lot of the growth that's happened in this band. You know, in other bands that I've been in before, you'd see a lot of these attitudes of like, this is the riff, this is the drum beat, this is the, you know, and it was like this dictatorship. And I think in this band, like, you know, I've allowed myself to be vulnerable in a lot of different ways. You know, I've invested a lot into this band, and I'm very lucky to be working with these guys who are very receptive to it and are very accepting. And like that's something that I don't take for granted. So, you know, something that I notice is that whenever we have an idea or if we're clashing at anything, like instead of coming at it from like a place of tension, we kind of go into it more of like a curious mindset to kind of understand what the other person is bringing to the table. And, you know, everybody's doing their own court order work independently in this band. And that's something that you know, I feel very, very fortunate to be a part of.
That'd give you a real buzz going forward as well, going, okay, we've got this one out. You're already no doubt working towards the next lot of work as well. Now you're all together and you just seem like that creative bunch of dudes would be like, okay, and this is that. Let's go forward now. And in this time, you know, it's about all you can do is just keep creating and trying to remain positive with everything that's going on. That being said, where's the best place people should go support Court Order?
You can check us out on our Instagram at Court Order HC, Facebook at Court Order HC, our Bandcamp, courtorder.bandcamp.com. All our merch is there. All our music is there. Courtorder.bigcartel.com. That's our store, and Court Order 1 on Twitter. Cool. And we're everywhere on Spotify and you know, Apple Music and Deezer and everything else, and Pornhub. You know,
I always mention the bit about support. Pornhub. That's it.
got Court Order on OnlyFans.
On every OnlyFans. I try and mention that because, you know, it's people realizing, you know, with support, you know, it's great. You know, I like to check out a band digitally, but if I like a band, I'm mad for support, buying merch, buying physical copies. I went and bought a record player about a month or so, just so I could buy even more merch. So, right. You know what I mean? If you love a band, support them. Don't just, you know, it's great to subscribe, whatever, on all your Instagrams and your Facebooks. But if you love a band, go out and buy the album, support them, man. There's nothing more than getting that fresh CD open, the book. There's all sorts of things, and these days with bands like yourself, you buy a CD, you buy a pack or whatever, you usually get a little note in there saying thank you or whatever, and it's things you aren't going to get when you listen digitally.
Like all that little stuff. It's like you're a fan. That's all the stuff.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
You know?
I done it yesterday. I've got a pre-order pack and I've opened it up and it was stickers and it was so cool, man. So cool.
We're about to the same way.
Yeah, man. We're coming up on the end of the time here, guys. But before I do, I want to quickly get in last words, shout outs and thank yous.
Just like thanks to everybody who like checks us out. It means a whole lot more than like people think. So like just like going on our Instagram or like streaming a song or something, it means a whole lot more than people think. So, you know, thanks for taking on that like 20 minutes to like check the EP out. It means a lot.
Yeah.
I want to say like everybody that helped like Court Order that like make it like how we are right now. Like since the photographer, like Eduardo, like he's a great guy. We always like trust him. We always trust him like with the photos because he's gonna like deliver. Like he's gonna deliver. He's gonna give us the image that we wanna like show. And then also like Julia, like everybody, like Jerry, our producer, like there's a lot of people involved, like Eddie from the Hellhound Studios, like everybody who helped like Code Order. I feel like I want to like shout out all those people. Like that's really cool.
I want to shout out Charlene at the LaGuardia Alamo for always taking care of me and always hooking it up with dope rides so I can come and pick up my boys and carpool to the studio, because that's how we do things in Brooklyn. We don't own cars, we rent them. So shout out to my girl Charlene at the Alamo Airport, you know, in LaGuardia, always taking care of me and getting me a good deal.
But for me, it's more my friends and
Okay, as we press record, and we got cut off before, so we're going to jump back into last words and shout outs. I think JJ, you're in the middle of it before it dropped down on you, mate.
yeah, it happens, honestly. But I want to shout out my friends and family and my family, if that makes any sense. Like my friends I consider family and whatnot. Without my family's and everyone else's support, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So I honestly do owe it to them as well.
Yeah, I think a shout out to the ladies of Court Order is in order. My wife Carrie, you know, I know that she puts up with a lot. You know, to Aisha, Zay's wife, you know, for letting them spend all that time with me and spending all that money on this with me for the last 3 years. You know, she's been very supportive, and Julia as well. She's been just terrific. She's a great photographer and always very, very supportive. So we're very lucky that we have that backbone. And, you know, I think people see what we're putting into this. And, you know, I think that's a testament to it as well, is that, you know, I think like we don't have a lot of bullshitters in our lives. You know, I think that if this thing was like kind of coming up short or not looking like it should, or it wasn't convincing, you know, I don't think, you know, that we'd kind of get the support that we have. I know that the other day I was like really excited about something that we just worked on. We were doing an interview. We have new merch, ads, all the, you know, cool stuff that we're just seeing Court Order come to life. And I remember I told my wife, you know what's cool about Court Order? And she said to me, everything. And I was like, oh, that's like really nice of you, you know? So it's nice that we have that at home. I mean, obviously, like, you know, if we can't win over our friends and family, then like what hope do we have for the public, you know? But it really is sweet to get that kind of support, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that play music that don't necessarily have that. They got a lot of naysayers, you know? Now with COVID, I think a lot of people are thinking differently about things. And, you know, why have we been programmed to just, you know, use the left side of our brain? Like, why were we being, you know, raised to grow up to get jobs that like satisfy industrialization? Like, why aren't we like satisfying the arts? Like, why aren't we satisfying dance and music and creativity? And that's something that's been really, really cool. And you know, to what Oscar was saying, Court Order is not just the 5 of us. It's like 30 people. You know, the amount of people that it takes to film us and to print the merch and, you know, to produce it and to make, you know, all the stuff come to life to make Court Order be impactful for you to want to connect with us, to talk about the album. We really owe it all to them. And that's kind of been the biggest reward of this whole thing, is that the community that we've been able to establish from this little world that we've created. So
yeah. And then I mean also
shirts and guitars. That's it.
Also, like, dude, like you know, thanks to people like you who are constantly like pushing, you know, like music that like doesn't get a lot of attention. You're like, you know, this podcast is amazing, dude. Like, you're doing more than you know, for a lot of people, and the fact that like that's still going on in a genre that like really doesn't get a lot of publicity, it's super important, dude. So like, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much.
Dude, absolute pleasure, man. When I got that email off of Ace and I cranked up Court Order, dude, you got a fan straight away. I heard that Poor Excuse track, and I've had to jump back and listen to the other stuff. And then Ace has sent me a message going, "Oh, how about, you know, we can do an interview or something as well?" I'm like, "Yep, definitely, dude," because I love music like yours that is just so bloody good, that just sits under that mainstream, that doesn't get that attention that it fucking deserves. And you know, I'm going to keep talking here. I know we done last words and shout outs, but Ace, you mentioned the thing about support, and you know, you said, look, we have a whole army or family behind us as well. That's the thing, especially in this time. I've harped on it before, but in this COVID time, bands like yourself, you know, we're playing live is such a big thing. You know, it's not just the playing on stage. You have a whole industry behind you. You've got sound engineers, you've got the stage tech, you've got everyone, the family at home, you've got everyone. And when you come in to play a stage, you're not only supporting the bar or wherever it is you're playing, because you're bringing patrons into that bar, but when you've got people come up and watch you play, maybe people that have never seen Court Order, okay, and you're going to watch a gig and you go, fuck, they're good, okay, and so you walk over to the merch stand, which is 99% the band and the shows I've been to in the underground independent scene, their band will be over at the merch stand. So you can go over after the set, buy a CD, buy a shirt, and that's the thing that you are not going to get at this time as well. So it's even more important for people to get along and support bands like Court Order and just not get stuck with the mainstream. Look, we're all at home together. Why not check out new music? Crank up some new bands and you are going to be freaking blown away, eh?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. Thank
Absolutely, man.
Awesome. Court Order, this has been an absolute pleasure. Everyone get out, crank up some Court Order, get along, support your scene, whatever it is, crank it loud. Grab this EP. This is really, really great album. It's a ripper album. Crank it a few times, blare it loud. Like I said before, the neighbours are going to want to hear this. So, Court Order, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And
Thank you so much, dude.
Thank you
having
so
us.
much. Yeah, that's what I want to say. We have this inside joke that like Oscar usually says like we're big in Australia because like most of our like listeners are from Australia, which is pretty cool. Maybe
We
it's
love
just
hardcore,
you,
man.
but like it's pretty dope.
That's just
so
me.
thank you, thank you,
We owe it all to you.
thanks Australia. Apparently,
Thank
we're
you so
huge over there.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, dude.
Thank you so much, guys. It's a pleasure.